So Simon, can you just give us a general consensus of what happened on the day?
A larger crowd turned up than was expected, and obviously a number of reasons for that. Stanley Matthews, 6th round of the FA Cup, second leg. We'd obviously won the first leg away from home, so we already 1 foot in the semi-final, if you will. Probably 15 to 20,000 people more than expected, or was expected, turned up. A lot trying to get in the embankment. It became overloaded, so they stopped admitting people coming in. There were a lot of children, adults down at the front, and a guy with his son decided they'd had enough, they couldn't stand it anymore, so they decided they were going to get out, and they opened the gate to get out, leaving that gate open, and more people came in. Notwithstanding the fact that people had tried to get over the railway line, over the back of the embankment to try and get in and watch the game as well. So really it was overloaded, and that's really what caused the accident.
Have you got a rough estimate of how many people were at the stadium that day?
They're saying between sort of 75,000-85,000. Nobody knows for sure, you know, because no ticketing, no numbering on the turnstiles or anything like that, so it's all estimates. Well, when you consider the record attendance at the stadium was 69,000, set before the war, I think it obviously shows that, you know, if there were over 80,000 in the vicinity, then it would be something that would really, you would notice a massive difference. But again, back then, no communication, there was no way of telling people within the stadium what had happened. To probably 80% of the people in the ground, they thought people had just fainted. There were a lot of people in that area, so they're being looked after, no problem whatsoever. So obviously the referee, in conjunction with the police, decided probably the safest way so there's no unrest within the crowd because they don't know what's going on, would be to see out the game.
Amazing, really, how many people were in attendance, but had no idea what happened until they got home, and they had their mums and all the family panicking over them, and they had no idea why.
Yeah, I think it was to show the world we live in now, the communication. You know, we all have mobile phones, we all watch TV. Back then, nothing at all. You know, you got your newspaper, and if you were lucky, a radio. So it's a different world that we live in, and I think it must have been frightening to think the way it was back then. Notwithstanding the fact that it was just at the end of the war, a lot of people are probably, immune's the wrong word, but I'm sure you understand where I'm coming from. Death was something that had happened in a lot of families, to a lot of people, obviously not just overseas, but actually in their own backyard.
Yeah, Stanley Matthews there, one of the biggest stars of the day, and obviously we had Nat Lofthouse on the books. It's the equivalent of Messi and Ronaldo these days. Oh,
yeah. I mean, I think everybody just wanted to look at Stan Matthews. You look at the people that did lose their lives, where they came from. They weren't all from Bolton, they were from all the northwest. And I think, you go back, and this is what I got from my grandfather. He actually lived in Salford. So they used to travel all over the northwest watching football, because that was the entertainment. So the biggest game in the northwest they'd always try and go to. The biggest game that day was Bolton Wanderers against Stoke.
What has the game gained from it moving forward in the last 70 years?
Well, certainly, I mean, from Bolton Wanderers' point of view, obviously the area where the accident happened, I mean, the depth of the terrace was massive. So all that was sorted, it made it safer, the barriers were made stronger. And obviously the turnstiles themselves, they started putting numbers on, so you could actually, when you went in, the turnstile operator could see how many people were actually going into that area, so at least you knew once it had reached its limit, right, that's it, no more can go in. Obviously the easiest way around would just be to ticket everywhere, which is what we do these days, but back then people just expected to turn up and pay the money and go in and watch a game of football.
And really it was one of the first major tragedies of English football, so as time goes on, those living memorials to it, they sort of disappear. Yeah,
and obviously you would expect that, but I think it's because of the way we're treating it now, hopefully it will be something that will be remembered going forward and never be forgotten.